the Italian team has been announced as yet for the European Championships. And I know the Germans will be picking their team for Europe after their trials coming up this weekend. But it's a good lineup, this one. They aim to go through the first 5,000 metres, Stuart, in a blistering 13 minutes and 30 seconds. Can they do that? Well, the best laid plans can go wrong, as Julius Kariuki just found out in the steeplechase.
Certainly it is a large field, but not too large. It has the right ingredients. It has pacemakers that Khalid Skah knows, and knows well. And they will have talked, although they've not gone off particularly quickly, I don't think, down that back straight. It may be deceptive. We'll soon see once we get a reading on the clock at the end of the first lap.
Mohamed Al Masoudi, the friend and training partner of Khalid Skah, as per schedule, goes off in front. And we'll look at the time quite quickly here to see just how fast it is when they go through for the first lap. So Al Masoudi out in front, purely there as a pacemaker. Number 10 there in second place, that is Lalafi, also for pacemaking. And third place, Paul Williams, also a pacemaker. Behind him, the man it's all about, in theory, Khalid Skah, though Francesco Panetta, who runs fifth at the moment, keeping his eyes right on him, will have his own ideas about that. First 400 metres in 66.6, which probably isn't fast enough. And I've noticed they've looked at the clock as they've gone through, and they've just wound it up a little bit noticeably on that bend. And they realised that that wasn't quite right. Probably this fellow, Mohamed Al Masoudi, hasn't done much of this kind of job before. They're not recognised pacemakers. Lalafi there in second place. He's run 13 minutes 34 himself for 5,000 metres. Useful, if not astounding, time. Paul Williams, who ran well in the Commonwealth Games, to get the bronze medal. He's in third place, but he's another one who tonight has chosen to take the bucks for the pacemaking job. Skah there, running fourth at the moment. Panetta right behind him. And they still have a little matter of 23 laps to run. That one was a quicker lap, no doubt about it at all. I'll get the official time on it in just a moment.
Well, just considering the progression of Skah to this 10,000 metres, he has run very nicely indeed over 3,000 metres with a best of 7:40.86. He's gone to 13:09.55 for 5,000 metres this year. He has the work underpinning real speed as the world cross-country champion, so he has all the ingredients. He's worked his way in. He chooses this as his first 10,000. It is a difficult 10,000, but it's one which he feels he can control with the help of the other Moroccans in this field, and will only time will tell. He's sitting there in fourth place, I think.
Yeah, that's right. But remember that this world record, before Barrios broke it and brought it down to 27 minutes 8.23 seconds last year, it had taken some beating. A few people had had a crack at it, but Fernando Mamedi's record had stood for 5 years before that. It's a tough old time to beat, and even Antibes, in the kind of red-hot form that he's been in this season, couldn't manage to do it, if you remember rightly, in Oslo, though there was a little bit of an argument, you might remember, there with Hamu Boutayev about who was pacemaking when, etc., etc. But the bottom line was they didn't get near.
Well, Boutayev wanted to race. He wanted to win the race, and viewed the race in that light. Incidentally, Ian, the pace around about 27:15 at the moment, which is a fair bit outside the world record pace. It started off very slowly and meticulously. Whether they'll wind it up, I don't know. It'll be an interesting first 5,000 metre time, see what they can actually do.
Well, 27 minute 15, yeah, it would be outside world record pace, but it would still be the third fastest 10,000 metres ever run. So this is going some, make no mistake about that. And Mohamed Al Masoudi is out there in front, determined to play his little part in what he hopes will be a glory night for his mate Khalid Skah. Behind him is Brahim Lalafi, then Paul Williams, then Khalid Skah, then Francesco Panetta, and the man running in sixth place, Stilder, and he's already run a 27 minutes 45 time this year. He was fourth in the Olympic Games, Prianon. Useful performer, not to be discounted. And this looks like another fast lap that they're putting in here down the back straight. It looks as if there's been a bit of a surge, and they've strung out Indian file behind them as that pace is put in. And he's doing his job well, is Mohammed Al Masoudi at the moment, but in the latter stages, Khalid Skah is going to have to do this all on his own if he wants the world record. There'll be no company. The first 5,000 metres might be hard. The second 5,000 metres could be absolute agony. And that was what was so impressive when Arturo Barrios broke this record in West Berlin about a year ago, that he ran even splits for the first 5,000 and the second 5,000, even though he had no company for the second 5,000. Looks like Al Masoudi might be beginning to feel it a bit, and he's let Lalafi take up a little bit of the pacemaking on this lap. Little change up front. Still Lalafi up there with Al Masoudi. Khalid Skah back in fourth place behind Paul Williams, the three pacemakers. That's what they're there for, all ahead of him. Skah in fourth, Prianon looking for a fast time in fifth, and Prianon could certainly be a contender and rival for Salvatore Antivo come the European Championships in a couple of weeks' time. Panetta, there's a little gap back to him after the first five. He may be struggling with this pace at the moment. And then behind them is Correia, who's the World Junior Cross-Country Championship in the all-yellow strip there. What is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th at the moment. But the first five are going hell for leather in what is, let me translate it for you if you prefer it in miles and not meters still, maybe you're old-fashioned like me, 6.2 miles for 10,000 meters, 25 laps of the track. It's a long way, however you choose to put it. One of the pacemakers dropping off there. It was Al Masoudi, in fact, leaving four of them in the leading group at the moment. How's the time looking, Stu?
Well, just looking at that comparison with Barrios's world record pace, at 3,000, Barrios was there with 8:08.10, and that was 8:09.65, so they really have pulled back a little bit here. This is a very fine effort indeed, and the pace is still good, and it's still on.
And I think a lot of the runners, too, running behind this leading four, might be hoped to be tugged through to fast times and personal bests. But a runner, even of the quality of Panetta at the moment, is 40 metres or so off this pace in fifth place, out of your shot at the moment. Still those pacemakers there, but Paul Williams will be the man who takes over in not too distant future, I would think, from Lalafi. Lalafi, a 13:34 man himself. Then Williams, then Skah. Khalid Skah is only 23. It's a funny thing, you know, all these Moroccans who've suddenly started appearing. If you look in the International Yearbook for Athletics this year, where they give you biographies of the leading athletes, there are only 2 or 3 Moroccans in it. Next year's edition, I think, is going to have about 15, because they're coming right, left and centre at us. The likes of Isanga, the 2 Boutayed, Saïd Ouita, so many Moroccan runners, and Khalid Skah, of course, world cross-country champion, and here he is looking for a world record on his 10,000 metre debut. He doesn't even make the book on last year's form.
Well, just to remind you, if you've just joined us in this 10,000 metres, Khalid Skah of Morocco is in his first 10,000 metres and declared at the beginning of the race, I want to go for the world record, and at 3,000 metres he was just a second and a half outside the schedule set by Barrios when he set that world record. And this is a very brave performance by Khalid Skah. He's latched on, but the difficult time will come when the pacemakers go, and he's on his own, as he's bound to be if he's going to attack that record. It's a very good record, it really is. Don't underestimate that record of Barrios at 27:08.23. It's an incredible record, and it'll take a very, very fine athlete to get near it. He is at the moment. Whether he can sustain it, well, only time can tell. Lalafi, it looks as though he's tiring a bit now.
And they go through this time in 10:50.53. They are just a second outside Barrios's pace at 4,000 metres. This is still on, but the hard part is yet to come. We have to keep stressing that, because sooner or later Khalid Skah will be running solo in this race. It will be outside target of 13:30 by the looks of it at 5,000 metres, but now it looks around 27 minutes 10 pace. Well, that's only something like 1.5 seconds. They can get that off in the closing laps perhaps, or Skah can, if he really has prepared properly, and this really is in his legs, a 10,000 metre world record. Very comfortable looking at the moment there, Skah in second place, and interestingly, Paul Williams is gone. Paul Williams can't live with this. Now this is interesting because Williams was supposed to be doing pacemaking, but Lalafi has stayed and Williams has gone. Now I thought Williams was going to do the last of the pacemakers to drop off, but he's obviously finding this too hot, and now Lalafi's gone, and we're not at halfway yet. So Skah, if he's going to break the world record, will have to do phenomenally well, because all the pacemakers have gone, and I would think he was hoping for company a little longer than this.
He's 110 metres ahead now of the trailing group of, well, I say group two, one of which is Panetta, and he's almost in the throes of lapping one athlete. He's only got about another 20 metres to go before he starts to lap athletes, and it will be a remarkable feat if he could do it. It's unbelievable that he could do it now. He's perhaps easing just a little bit now. It's difficult to tell. We'll have to wait until we get the evidence from the clock.
Of course, he might just try and win the race now. He may have seen what happened to Kariuki earlier in the night, where they plotted a world record attempt. The world record attempt didn't come off.
He seems to be pushing it along quite nicely at the moment. 5,000 metres, 13:36.39, and he's now, what, 4 seconds outside Barrios's world record pace, and it's going.
Yeah, he's dropping away from it at the moment, and unless he can conjure something very special in terms of strength, motivation, I don't think we're going to see the world record from Khalid Skah on his 10,000 metre debut. And there may be another little subplot as well. He is at the moment something like 100 metres clear, but he's only halfway through the race. Behind him, quality men like Prianon and Panetta, two of the top Europeans, and they may be playing a very canny game, and they may reel him in the second half of the race if Skah does tie up front. Or will he find something more? Well, he's looked at the clock, obviously, at 5,000 metres. He knows he needs to get his skates on, and he looks as if he's putting in a faster one here.
Well, he's certainly in new territory now in the second 5,000 metres, and this will be a learning process for him, in a sense, a learning process in an attempt at the world record. Quite incredible thought.
I think he's learned not to attack the 10,000 metre world record on his debut. Well, we might be wrong about that, so we better not go into any false predictions about what might happen, because Khalid Skah could have the last laugh. He's an interesting character, Skah. He comes from Morocco, but actually lives most of the time in Norway. 67-second plus lap, that last one. He needs something around 65 or under. Goes through this time in 15:47. Sorry, 15:17. It's a bit hard for me to see the clock from here, though you've got one on your screen, which is much better. I'll look at that one next time, I think. But the one in the stadium has floodlights all over it. We can't read it properly. Second is Panetta. Prianon is third. And looks in fourth, as if that is Celio, the Argentinian, who I think is suffering a bit. He's holding his stomach. He might have what is commonly known as the stitch. Now there is Skah. That really is a picture of the loneliness of the long-distance runner, isn't it? There's Prianon on the left, Panetta on the right. Those two appear to be just helping each other out a bit, taking over the pace from each other. They're in their own little race for second place, and maybe they're figuring that Skah will come back to them. Number 7, that's Antonio Cilio of Argentina, who's improving. 15, that's Canario, Portugal, leading the chasing group. Skah comes around this time with 10 to go. 16 minutes 25.01 at 6,000 metres, and that is 10 seconds outside the schedule that Barrios was on when he broke the world record in West Berlin. But Skah is still determined, no doubt, to put in a fast race. Just settle back, watch him for a moment. as he goes through what must be a lonely agony out there now. It must be hurting, and he knows there's still quite a lot of hurt to come. Panetta in the all-white second, Prianon third. The gap is something like quarter of a lap between them, 110 metres or so I would estimate it at. Cilio in fourth place, getting a little bit closer to the men in second and third. 15 in fifth, that is Canario. There's Skah. This time 9 to go. Of course, Stuart, a lot of promoters are reticent to put on 10,000 metre events because they do eat up the best part of half an hour of precious time, and sometimes television producers and the like in this highly commercial age that we have don't like 10,000 metres on their schedule as well. What do you think about it all?
Well, yes, indeed. Skah is very much the man who has come along and taken on an event, a new event for him, and looks to be enjoying it. I'm not quite sure whether he is, but the promoters, in answer to your point, will be in some difficulty at this time of the year as far as the majority of the European athletes are concerned, because of the close proximity of the European Championships in Split. And of course there aren't most of the athletes have only got a couple of good 10,000 metres in them in a season, and of course you have to pick and choose, and this of course is why, with the exception of Panetta down here, we've got a lackluster European presence in a sense, and we will have to wait, I think, for the real 10,000 metre running of European athletes until we get to Split. But Skah is a man who's come on and taken on this event in this particular instance and has done very well, and he may well still be on for the world's fastest 10,000 metres debut. Our statistician Mel Watman tells us he determined to get a statistic in here somewhere.
I tell you what, you've got Mel scuttling away for the books there. He's going to have to get some dusty old editions out to look up that one, the fastest ever 10,000 metre debut. We'll see how much of a wonder man Mel is. Looks around 27 minutes 25, 27 minutes 30 pace, Mel tells us at the moment. I don't know if you know, Mel, what the fastest ever 10,000 metre debut is, but I think we might struggle to find that out tonight. Maybe it was Eamon Martin, 27 minutes 23 point. Oh, he's produced it already. Mel Watman breaking all records himself here tonight, even if Khalid Skah isn't. 27 minutes 23.06 by Eamon Martin of Great Britain. Great run, I remember it well, in Oslo. There's Panetta in second, Prianon third, Skah still out in the lead. Just picking up on Stuart's point, of course the difficult thing at the moment is that the athletes are split into two groups: the Europeans, who are trying to peak for a championship in a couple of weeks' time, and the rest of the world's athletes who are really running simply for the big Grand Prix meetings, and sometimes, let's be honest about it, maybe just to pick up a bit of money around Europe. These runners are looking to hit their peak, these two particularly, in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Panetta and Prianon. It's not a bad run from either of these two. They're still, though, not closing the gap at all on Skah. They still are 100, 120 metres behind him.
Wilfred Meertz, the meeting director, was talking to us this morning, and he said that, of course, it's not him and the meet promoters who necessarily set up for world records, it's the athletes themselves. And, of course, it was Skah who made the declaration that he was going to have a go at this, and so we respond to that. He is a man of some standing in this distance arena, and he's proved that. He's proved it over the country, he's proved it over 3,000, he's proved it over 5,000. A fine, accomplished athlete across the board, and he said, well, I'm going to try the 10 and I'm going to give it my very best. I'm confident. And he said, I think I can challenge the world record. He will now already have learned something about this event, something he didn't know before. You can only learn by doing.
Well, we were saying at the start that this is a tough world record, and Khalid Skah of Morocco has found that out, that this is still a very, very high-class run from him on his debut at the event. And come the World Championships next year and the Olympic Games in 1992, you're looking at a man who may well be a very strong contender. Panetta has got away from Prianon now and has gone clearly into second place. And some of the runners indeed are starting to be lapped now. There's Panetta now on his own. He's opened up a gap of something like 40 or 50 metres on Prianon, who's in third place, with Celio of Argentina. There he is in the all yellow, getting closer in fourth place. A group of 5 behind, led by Haninen from Finland in the all black. You can also see in that group Masiusiak of Poland. But Haninen in the black is the man who's leading that group at the moment. They really are a long, long way and in a completely different race to Khalid Skah. In fact, they're half a lap behind him, those 5. There is Prianon in third, Celio in fourth. Indeed, you need to cast your eyes the full width of the canvas of the stadium to take all this 10,000 metres in. It can get quite confusing at this point. 4 to go for Skah. And we think now that he's probably going to be outside 27 minutes and 40 seconds on current pace. And that is well over half a minute outside the world record. So the plot has gone all wrong. Celio moves into third place. Celio, who hasn't been inside 28 minutes before. Will he do that tonight? Maybe not. He's quite a way away from the pace. Skah out there on his own. Promoter was saying that he'd been taking a bit of criticism from a radio station and a newspaper reporter who only covers athletics once a year, who was saying that the Brussels Grand Prix meeting was all a bit of a con and a waste of time because they made a lot of boasts about world records and then nothing ever happened. And he was right, the promoter, in saying that well, he never said there is going to be a world record, only that there are going to be world record attempts at the meeting. And I think it probably shows a complete lack of understanding about athletics to say that the meeting is a complete flop because there are no world records in it. As Panetta is suffering a little bit in second place. The beauty, of course, of world records is that they are tough, they are hard to beat. We don't want them going down every week, because it would lose the novelty value of it and the great momentousness of each world record when it falls. Celio and Prianon together. You saw a man being lapped there, Richard Mulligan, the Irish champion. 9,000 metres, 24 minutes 52.41. A long way outside Barrios's pace, and this isn't going to be a even especially fast one now, except it'll be sub 28 minutes. Panetta there in second place now. Now what about Panetta, Stuart? Here we are, what is it, 2.5 weeks or so to go to the European Championships. Is it a very good idea for him to be running in a 10,000 metres here, that close to the Championships?
I must say I'm surprised to see him here. I'm certainly surprised to see him attempting to go with Skah. It's difficult to think that he's just come for an outing, because he's really pushed it. He's now all alone. Here he is in the home straight. He's not looking too comfortable, although it's difficult to tell. And he made an attempt to stay with Skah. Skah left him, and that was it. But in answer to your question, I think, well, we'll have to see what event he goes for, whether he goes for the steeple or whether he goes for the 10. As we've said, we're not sure that the Italian team has been selected yet. He may well be convinced to go for the 3,000 metre steeplechase right now. Be interesting to see that selection.
Well, here comes Skah, and this time he'll get the bell. He's found a little bit of life in his legs again now. You'll be glad to hear that bell. But the world record attempt has missed, and missed by a long, long way, it should be said, and really it was always doomed to failure once he had no company from about the 4,000 metre mark on. Now Skah's putting in a fast last lap here. He's a talented athlete, make no mistake about that, all right. And look at Cilio now challenging Panetta, and Panetta's suffering. Panetta is suffering, and this really, well, when he reflects on it, he might reflect that this is a pretty crazy idea to be running a 10,000 metres this close to the Europeans. That is a side plot to all of this. Khalid Skah is producing a very, very quick last lap by the look of it here. Racing home, the crowd are rising to him. It's been a brave run. And real finishing speed down the straight on his own. And he comes home to win. Let's have a look at the time. He's knocked it down with this fast last lap to 27 minutes, 29.27. That is a fast 10,000 metres, all right, but it is something like, what, 21 seconds outside what he was aiming for, the world record. It's going to put him in third place on the years list, 1990 list, number 3 this year behind Antibo and Hamou Boutayeb. And that last lap timed at 58.41. Superb. This looks like a lifetime best in second place for Antonio Cilio of Argentina, 28.5.72. Yes, it is, by a long way, by 13 seconds. Panetta is in third place, in fourth there, number 14. That is Masiusiak of Poland. Then came Monteiro of Portugal, and Trianon of France, who felt the pace of all of that over the closing laps. But Khalid Skah, third fastest of the year, no doubt about it, he is going to be a prime contender at the World Championships in Rome next year. World cross-country champion already. Great last lap, 58-second last lap, which is fairly sensational stuff at the end of a 10,000 metres. Another view of it. That number 11 there was getting lapped. Don't worry.